Rose of Baghdad. In the works of Ibn Arabi, Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, 1077–1166 AD, is mentioned as a just man, the qutb of his time. 34 As he lay on his deathbed, al-Jilani reportedly left his shika's cloak for a man he said would be coming from the west named Muhyiddin, who would be the qutb of his time. Al-Jilani was the founder of the Qadiriyya Sufi order, which is particularly venerated in the Western occult tradition, where it is seen by some as the origin of the Rosicrucian movement. A famous Jewish historian claimed that al-Jilani was a secret Jew. Chacham Israel Joseph Benjamin II, 1818–1864 AD, wrote 8 years in Asia and Africa from 1846 to 1855, in which he reported that there was a mosque in Baghdad where the grave of al-Jilani is highly venerated, and mentioned that the mosque was a synagogue before, and that the Marabout was nothing less than the famous Talmudist Joseph Haglidi. 35. Jilani was a pupil of Ibn Aqil, d. 1119 AD, who had been required by other Hanbalis to denounce his heretical tendencies and retract a work which he had written glorifying al-Hallaj, the notorious Sufi who was executed in 922 AD for declaring himself God. However, Hanbali scholar Ibn Qudama, d. 1223 AD, in his censure of speculative theology, doubted the sincerity of his retraction, and George Makdisi concurs, suggesting that Ibn Aqil practiced prudent dissimulation, taqiyya. Jilani himself, according to Ibn Rajab, was condemned for harboring heretical works in his school, particularly the writings of the Brethren of Sincerity. 36. The legend of Jilani's life and career were largely embellished by his successors. For example, his pedigree was traced on his father's side in the direct line to Hassan, grandson of the Prophet. But the pedigree was shown to be a fabrication of his grandson the Abu Salah Nasr, to whom numerous fictions can be traced. 37 The list of his performed miracles began at the earliest while only a child, when he was to have begun a fast by refusing the breast of his mother. He was believed to be able to punish distant sinners and assist the oppressed in a miraculous manner, walk on water and move through air. Angels and jinn, people of the hidden world, and even the Prophet Muhammad himself, it was said, would appear at his meetings and express their appreciation. According to David Margoliouth, al-Jilani's fame among his followers in some cases nearly displaced that of the Prophet Muhammad, and he is regularly styled the Sultan of the Saints. 38 His reputation attracted numerous pupils from all parts of the Islamic world, and his persuasive rhetoric is said to have converted many Jews and Christians to Islam. Jilani also spoke of the related notion of the perfect saint which became prominent in Sufism. To Jilani, the perfect saint represents a microcosm as his intellect encompasses all, or because his existence comprises all things. This idea of the perfect man among the Sufis is recognized by scholars as dating back to ancient Magian and Gnostic sources, and the notion is traced by Gilles Quispel to Kabbalistic conceptions concerning the primordial atom. 39 The epistles of the Brethren of Sincerity define a perfect man as of East Persian derivation, of Arabic faith, of Iraqi, that is Babylonian, in education, Hebrew in astuteness, a disciple of Christ in conduct, as pious as a Syrian monk, a Greek in natural sciences, an Indian in the interpretation of mysteries, and, above all, a Sufi or a mystic in his whole spiritual outlook. 40 The fact that Jilani regarded himself as the perfect saint is suggested in a saying attributed to him, "My foot is on the neck of every saint of God," thus laying claim to the highest rank and as having obtained the consent of all the saints of the epoch. 41. Jilani was known as the Rose of Baghdad. The rose became the symbol of his order, and a rose of green and white cloth with a six-pointed star in the middle is traditionally worn in the cap of Qadiriyya dervishes. 42 The cultivation of geometrical gardens, in which the rose has often held a central place, has a long history in Iran and surrounding countries. In the lyric ghazal, it is the beauty of the rose that provokes the longing song of the nightingale. 43 As the imagery of lover and beloved became a type of the Sufi mystic's quest for divine love, Ibn Arabi aligns the rose with the beloved's blushing cheek on the one hand and the divine names and attributes on the other. 44 Two prominent Sufi books are Golstan, the Rose Garden, and the Gulshan-i-Raz, the Rose Garden of Secrets. Written in 1258 CE, the Golstan, one of two major works of the Persian poet Sa'di, considered one of the greatest medieval Persian poets. The Gulshan-i-Raz by Shabistari, b. 1288 AD, who became deeply versed in Ibn Arabi, shares many features with Ismaili works, and is considered to be one of the greatest classical Persian works of Sufism. 45 The poems attributed to Rumi's instructor, Shams Tabrizi, 1185–1248 AD, by the Ismailis of Badakhshan are published in the Rose Garden of Shams, Gulzar-i Shams, by Muluk Shah, a descendant of the Ismaili Per Shams. 46.